Hello everyone and welcome back to Dingsbury Town. And a big hello to all the new subscribers who've joined the channel recently. I've been overwhelmed with the sudden increase since my last video with Michael from Chandwell. I do hope you enjoy the channel and the videos that I put together, and it'd be great to hear your views and feedback in the comment section below. In this video I'm finishing the build of No. 3 Market Hill, which I started a couple of videos ago. The main focus of this video is the extension here at the rear of the building, which is a slightly later addition and features some taller rooms, and hence the windows don't properly align. That's my excuse anyway. There are a couple of interesting features that I found in this prototype that I wanted to incorporate, including the window sills, the window arches and this decorative brick eaves at the top of the building. I wanted to create some nice big feature windows for this part of the building. I designed these in Inkscape and cut them out using the Cricut machine. I'm getting the cuts down to about 0.5mm at the moment. I may be able to push this a little further, but it becomes unreliable and the window bars do start to break. The larger windows have more features than I'd previously modelled, and I wanted to try and recreate them on this building. Unfortunately, quite a lot of the footage was obscured by the back of my head, but I'll do my best to show you how I made these. The brick arch here has been added in Inkscape. This is taken from Scalescenes brick papers and are actually these parallel courses of bricks. These are manipulated in photo editing software to match the shape and size of the arch and attempting to keep the brick sizes right. These are then added to the brick layer in Inkscape so they become part of the same layer of bricks as with the real thing. The lower sill is just a single printed layer wrapped around the bottom of the window and the edges touched in just to give slight relief. The upper sill has more depth, so this was added separately and is a thin piece of card wrapped in the brick paper. I wish I'd have added the upper sill on later on in the build, as I kept damaging it when I was adding the interiors and the lighting. However, I can easily touch this up with some watercolour paints. Eventually I figured out I could use a couple of bits of cardboard as a spacer to protect it. The sides of the extension were glued in place using the right angle jig and wooden blocks to keep it nice and square. In this building I practiced developing some interiors, and although they are difficult to see here, I will be incorporating them on the buildings in front of these, so I thought this was a good opportunity to get some practice in. I made some separate room inserts that will just slot into the building from thin card and Scalescenes interior elements scaled down to 3mm. These are mostly just flat images stuck to the walls, but I did make this nice little armchair from the interiors kit, which is surprisingly effective in the room setting. To create the impression of internal stairs on the right hand side of the building, I found a suitable image online and reduced the opacity, printed it and added it to the back of the building. With the lights on, this creates the subtle effect of the interior staircase. I wanted to illuminate the building and used copper tape for the internal wiring. I find this much easier than running cables through the building. Because of the different floor levels, the main building has different lighting to the extension. I added the lighting into the building so the room insert would cover it. And I definitely tested this and it definitely worked, but once I glued the room in place, it somehow stopped working. So to get round this, I had to cut a hole in the ceiling and add another LED from the top. Unfortunately, this isn't quite as bright as it was previously, and you can only just make out the interior, but at least I know it's in there. I also added lights to the front of the building, and these are more than bright enough and you can really see the interiors of the building here. When it came to attaching the extension to the main building, I was quite worried about potential light bleed around the sides. I made sure the joint was as level as possible and then made a mixture of this high-tack glue and pastel scrapings to match the brick colour. I applied this to the joint and pressed the parts in place. The glue was very effective and held the parts really quickly and prevented any light bleed, as you can see from this test. I did need to make some slight adjustments which resulted in a glue mark, but by using the pastels and with a little weathering and touching up with watercolours, this will hardly be visible. To create the brick eave detail, I used two separate layers. The base layer was 3 bricks deep and the top layer was 2 bricks deep. I added the diagonal strips separately to the end pieces. To align the diagonal strips, I used the card base layer that I'd cut these parts from as a template. And then the bigger end parts were added separately, taking care to colour the edges in, and you can hardly see the gap. To finish the build, I made tiles using the Cricut machine, which you can see in this previous video if you're interested. The main difference in this build here is I marked the guidelines on the roof base and actually tiled the roofs flat on the bench before adding to the building. This made a huge difference to the accuracy, and I'll be doing this again in the future. I then made individual ridge tiles from the same card and added these, and then painted the roof with a selection of grey acrylics and some lighter weathering effects. Once the paint had dried, I attached the brick eaves using PVA glue, and that completes the building for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below, and if you have liked it, please do give it a thumbs up. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing next, whether it be more buildings, a little bit of scenery, or perhaps some wagon kits. However, whatever I do, I will be back with another video in the next few weeks. Bye for now.